So if you look at the right hand one now in terms of your setup, just in terms of the angles you're creating now in terms of your spine angle, getting the shoulders now kind of more over your toes there rather than tilting forward quite so much. I think there's a position you got into back here, so when you do your knee flex, was it there, do that bend there, I would say for me somewhere around there is probably, if you look at that position there, I'm watching enough golf until I'm sure, that position there looks to me really, really good in terms of your pelvis angle down to the golf ball, your belt buckle line down to the golf ball, your spine angle very, very straight. That to me is your best position, but that was just you put into not a knee flex and then you straighten up out of that shot there, kind of up here, and the weight then goes a bit up onto your tippy toes, okay? So
yeah, because before I had a bit too much knee flex.
Exactly, you were sort of really squatting down. So it's just you've got to, again, this often happens, especially with lockdown and stuff, what people have had, they kind of ping back and forth between sort of one extreme to the other extreme, going from sort of too much knee flex, too straight, too much, not enough kind of thing. And this is why I say in terms of practice now, if we can spend, again, if you're watching golf on Sky, I'm sure you are, obviously, there'll be enough ad breaks on there to watch the golf and stuff. So every ad break, say, okay, right, maybe every ad break per hour or whatever it may be, grab a club in the living room and just stand there and just get yourself in that position, hold it, maybe have a mirror down the side, even your phone, taking a photograph on a video camera, whatever it may be, just stand there and just try and get in that minute, okay, right. And then in some way, when you're over the ball, say out loud or whatever it may be, give a trigger to the camera or whatever so you can look back on it and go, right, okay, this feels good, that's too heely, too toey, here's good now. And then pause maybe for 5 seconds, go look at the camera and have a look. And what we'd be ideally looking for is somewhere kind of, I guess in that range, that's too much knee flex obviously, but somewhere around there where to me, as I say, your back is super good, hip and spine angle there, your pelvis. I look at Justin Rose, because I was probably one of the best postures on tour, and to be fair, most of the guys on tour have got really good postures, but he's renowned for having a very, very good sort of setup. If you look at that there, if you compare to that one there, we can see quite a roundness in the back there, kind of the weight tipping forward, all the weight now sort of over your toes there too much. If we can get more into that position, it will certainly help. Now, in terms of a physical move, I want to try and go and practice, and we'll have a look at a few more shots now in a sec. The movement of your right hip as you go away, I want you to feel a bit more kind of turn and pivot around this right foot as you go back. You tend to do a little bit of falling onto your tippy toes, just a little bit, okay? If I show you one here now, as you go back, just watch kind of your knees on that one there, sort of moving towards the yellow line there. So, and I would say if we look at your feet, as you're going back there, that heel on the right there's kind of lifting. It's all kind of a bit going that way. And even more so, interesting enough, when you sunk back, which is to be expected, because you've kind of moved back away from where you were, your brain's going, well, I want to kind of be back there again, even though we know it's not the right position to be into. As you go back through your setup here now, if you watch as you go back now, quite a bit of move, especially with the head and the body, dropping and tilting down there. In terms of the actual angle, the arms are going back nicely with the club back in front. That's a good spot there for your arms. But the feet there, if you just watch kind of, if we had pressure plates where all these tour players now have these things on the ground where they're sort of hitting golf balls, what you would see now is when your weight goes towards your toes, it sort of goes dark green, and when it comes off, it goes red kind of thing. You can see now as you go back, I zoom in here, watching your foot, that heel on the right there starting to lift, yeah? See that? Yeah. So your right heel's starting to lift there, so the left knee's going forward a lot, not quite rotating around this hip, kind of more tilt leaning forwards as opposed to this. So you want to kind of feel this right hip now is kind of going a bit more back behind you, getting it here, and that in turn, if we can get yourself kind of behind the ball with this and this, that will eliminate some of these shots that we're seeing. That one, the last one, we just saw that pull hook. Not so much on this one, but if we look at this on the left hand side, as you come into the golf ball, as you're hitting the golf ball now, that's pre-impact. You can see the club now kind of outside the golf ball. The path then coming across. There's impact, and you can see kind of how open your shoulders are there. Everything going a long way left. Some of that was down to the fact when you were swinging on your tippy toes, and you were back here and then having to try and sort of rebalance yourself as you went back. Your arms kind of went, it was almost kind of you go one way, the arms kind of react the other way. So if we can get that sensation set up, feeling a little bit more kind of 50-50, finding that kind of middle ground from being too much back on your heels with too much knee bend, too much on your toes leaning forward. Find the middle ground and just feel this right hip now going back and around. You actually do that without even a goal glove. You're putting your hand on that hip there. It's almost like you're pulling it around here. We're not going to go in and doing that. If this hip starts going forwards and your weight starts going forward now, it's a pretty good chance you're going to come over the top and smother it. Okay, so in terms of practice, I would suggest if you can do that at home as much as you can, just get the feeling of how that lower half needs to rotate a bit more. Your right hip pocket probably actually goes a little bit this way. Sorry, that's a good line, is it? A little bit this way before you start rotating. So you probably go a little bit kind of that way with the hips or slides forward. Then it might start going back. But if you get back on your toes that much, you can't really move around this knee. Does that make sense, yeah? So you get that sort of sense that this hip's going to kind of just disappear kind of behind you, okay? So we'll do a few movements there now in a second to sort of showcase that. But yeah, set it wise, find the middle ground. If you've got a long mirror in the house, some of you will just stand there, just look in front of that and sort of see where you're at, or get your phone on the camera and just sort of press record for 30 seconds a minute, just watch where you are. And again, go to both extremes of good and bad. So you kind of learn where the middle ground is. You said before we had the lessons where you were too squatting the knees, where you straightened your knees up, and what's happened, you just kept going and haven't stopped. So if you don't know where too far that way is or too far this way is, you'll just keep going and going and going to the point of no return where I can't go any further. But then by which time you've gone too far, okay?